All right, let's dive in. Today we're going to step into this world of, well, really intense intellectual debate. It's thousands of years old, but as you'll see, it feels incredibly modern. We're going to try and unpack the unique logic of the Talmud, and we're going to do it by focusing on the arguments from just one single, fascinating page.
So what this all boils down to really are a couple of huge questions that you see in law and ethics all the time. First, what really happens when a sacred rule gets broken? What are the consequences? And second, and this one's a biggie, can timing change everything? Can the exact moment something happens totally flip its legal meaning? Just keep those two ideas in your back pocket as we go through this.
Okay, so our journey starts with this classic puzzle. It's from an ancient text called Zevachim, and it's all about ritual purity, sacred food, and, what happens when a really high-stakes ritual goes completely off the rails.
So here's the setup. You've got a person who is, let's say, ritually impure. And this person eats some sacred meat from a sacrifice. But, and this is the absolute key to the whole thing, they eat it before the ritual is totally finished. They jump the gun before that final step, the sprinkling of blood on the altar, is complete.
So, at first, the debate seems, well, pretty straightforward. You've got two major scholars, Rish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan, and they're just on opposite sides. Rish Lakish says, yep, he gets flogged for that, but Rabbi Yochanan says, nope, no flogging. Seems pretty simple, right? A classic yes versus no situation. But you've probably guessed it by now. In the world of the Talmud, the first argument you see, it's almost never the real argument. What looks like a simple disagreement about punishment is actually just the tip of the iceberg. It's a clue pointing to a much, much deeper question that's hiding right underneath. And here it is. Here's the twist. Later on, these other scholars, Abaye and Rava, they come along and they basically reframe the whole conversation. They say, hang on, you're all missing the point. The core issue isn't just about the impure person. It's about the status of the food itself at that moment. And that just changes everything.
Okay, so to get this, we have to understand a really key legal idea. It's called permitting factors. Think of it like this. A permitting factor is a specific action, in this case, sprinkling the blood, that has to happen to sort of unlock the sacred item. It's the thing that has to be done before it can be legally used or, eaten.
So let's just trace the path of this piece of meat, okay? First, it gets sanctified. It's set aside, it's holy, but it's not ready yet. It's not available. Then, that permitting factor we just talked about happens. The blood is sprinkled. And only after that final step is the meat officially good to go. Before that, it's just stuck in this kind of legal limbo. And that is the real debate. Suddenly, the question isn't just, should the guy be flogged? It's a much bigger question. Does the rule against eating this stuff even apply before the meat has been fully permitted? See? The whole argument hinges on the legal status of the food at that one specific moment. All right, let's switch gears a bit and look at a second case. And hey, look who's back. It's our same two scholars, Rish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan, and they're disagreeing again. But this time, it's not about who's eating what. It's about what's being brought to the altar in the first place. And just like before, on the surface, this looks like another really clear conflict. The text says someone brings an offering from a non-kosher animal. Rish Lakish is like, whoa, that's a huge violation. That deserves a flogging. And Rabbi Yochanan again says, nope, it doesn't. So here we are again, back to a simple yes versus no. So you know what's coming, right? We have to ask that question again. Is this really about someone trying to offer, a pig on the altar? Or is there something more subtle going on? A more precise legal point that we're missing? This is what the Talmudic method is all about. Always, always looking for that deeper layer. And yep, of course there is. A third scholar, a guy named Rabbi Yaakov, he steps into the conversation. And he basically tells everyone, you've got this all wrong. You've completely misunderstood what they were arguing about. He reveals that Rish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan were never, not even for a second, arguing about a non-kosher animal. So what was the real argument? Get this. It was about offering an animal that was kosher but undomesticated. Like a deer or a gazelle. See, the Torah says to bring an offering from the cattle and from the flock. Rish Lakish's take is that this is just like the preferred option, the gold standard. But offering another kosher wild animal, that's fine. Rabbi Yochanan, though, he insists that command is a strict exclusive list. It means cattle and flock, and only cattle and flock. So how do you solve that? It's a fundamental disagreement on how to read the text. Well, the Talmud doesn't just leave you hanging. It brings in this brilliant tool, a powerful analogy.
It's almost like a parable, and it's designed to settle the whole thing with logic that, frankly, anyone can get.
And this is such a classic move in the Talmud. Whenever the legal stuff starts getting super dense and complicated, the solution is to bring it back down to earth with a simple, relatable human story. And in this case,
It's the story of a teacher giving instructions to a student.
Okay, so check out these two scenarios. They seem pretty similar at first, but from a legal point of view, they are just worlds apart. Scenario A, the teacher says, "Bring me wheat." The student brings wheat and barley. Okay, so the student is just adding to the command. No big deal. But now look at scenario B. The teacher says, "Bring me only wheat." Now, if the student brings wheat and barley, he's not just adding to the order, he's actively disobeying a direct command. So the whole point of this story is to make a comparison. The text argues that the way the Torah's command is worded with its repetition and its specific language, it's not like that first teacher, it's like the second teacher. That command, "from the cattle and from the flock," is basically being read as, "Bring me only from the cattle and from the flock."
And that's it. That's the final word. The analogy is just so powerful, so clear that it completely shuts down Rish Lakish's more lenient opinion. His view is refuted. The offering of the wild animal is disqualified. The logic has been followed all the way to the end, to its conclusion.
So, after all that, what's the big takeaway? What we've just seen is a way of thinking that is all about peeling back layers, right? It's obsessed with precision, and it uses these brilliant little stories to make really complex ideas crystal clear. And it leaves us with this question that, it's just as relevant today as it was back then. In our laws, in our jobs, even in our own lives, how do we know when a rule is just a suggestion and when is it a hard and fast, don't you dare cross it red line? It just goes to show you some debates are truly timeless.